Today, man, we are going to be diving into the MDT Pic Fed, the My Damn Toys Pic Federation. We're going to answer some questions about it. I'm going to give you the entire lore on the backstory and everything around it, man. So, the big question that I get all the time across the channel, possibly every single day across every single piece of social media that I own, I get the question of when is the next MDT Pic Fed? What happened to the Pic Fed? When is the next episode? All of those different things. And today, we're going to be answering some of those different questions and getting into it and solving the mystery for you and just giving you everything, man, so you can just sit back, turn this on, and listen. And I really care about your opinion, so I'd love to hear all of your feedback down in the comment section below. Anything you got around the Pic Fed, I don't care what it is, let me know about it. I want to hear it down in the comment section below. I greatly appreciate it. So hear me out fully, and then let me know what you think of the situation, things about the Pic Fed, just any questions, whatever it is, man, let me know those things down in the comment section below. But let's get into it, man. Let's rewind back. We're going to give you some different pointers, all the different information about it, and just hear me out fully. So if we rewind time back to 2020, we all know what 2020 was famous for, right? But if we rewind back to 2020, and it was around actually when the panorama hit, you rewind to February of 2020 is when my son was born. But March of that year, around a month or so after my last pay-per-view was posted, March 22nd, 2020 is when MDT Hell's Gate premiered on the channel, which was a little over 5 years ago, which is absolutely insanity when you think about it. You sit back and think about that, especially if you watched it live and all those different things, how much time has passed. But my son was born around a month before Hell's Gate was posted, and if you really remember it around that time live, if you had to experience this live, you remember me coming on here and talking about how him being bored kind of delayed the show being finished. If you guys remember that, I said that the show was going to be out, but if my son was born, then it would delay it a little bit longer, and that did end up actually happening. So he did delay the show getting finished, but you fast forward time, now he is 5 years old, so that's insanity. It makes you want to vomit into the floor. But after Hell's Gate, the Hell's Gate project was so big, like the pay-per-view and just everything that was put in there and me becoming a new dad, things like that, that did cause the Fed to go on hiatus, and I don't think we really uploaded a Vindication episode. The next episodic series that came out, or the next episode of the MDT Pic Fed came out October 8th, 2020, so that was a long time after that, or six and a half months roughly after that is when the next episode was posted. Fast forward 2.5-3 months, January 1st of 2021, we got another MDT Live out, and then it was 8 months after that that the last episode of MDT Pic Fed was posted. September 28th, 2021, Vindication 17 went up, and since then, it has been 1,363 days since the last Fed episode has been posted. 3.73 years, almost 4 years since the last one was posted. Now, that is insane, and I hate to even say that, but that is the reality of the situation. It has been a very long time since we've done a full Fed episode, not counting action figure matches or things to do with the hands or whatever. I'm talking about in the realm of the MDT Pic Fed, canon Pic Fed episodes, pay-per-views, storyline. It has been that long. Now, a lot has changed in that time since our last pay-per-view or last episode that we upload. A lot has happened, a lot has changed, not only in my life, but Fedding related, and we'll get into all those things. But life changes. Since the last episode, I have 3 children now, and I do not just have a son, I do have 3 total children. With that, of course, comes a ton of responsibility, and I do pride myself on being a parent and being a dad. I want to be a present dad, I want to be the best dad I can possibly be, and on top of that, I want to be the best husband that I can possibly be to my family and my wife. Now, I don't know if you realize this, Brad, but when you do a Fed like this, it does take a ton of time away. It requires a lot of time to put into something like this. Now, do I believe that I could have found certain times in little increments over time to put into the Fed and have it come to fruition? I think so. I think I could have taken little increments of time throughout the years, throughout the months, and put it in there and had the Fed episodes, even if they would have been pretty decent spacing, or it would have taken a little bit of time to get those episodes out. I think there was probably some incremental times in between there that we probably could have brung some episodes to fruition, etc. Now, would they have taken time? I think so. It would have been a decent amount of time, kind of like what we saw, right? The 6 months, the 7 months in between that we were seeing there. I think that trend probably would have continued until we got to a pay-per-view. Then it would have been much longer. But on top of life changes, having a family, keeping that in order, keeping everything like that, maintaining the channel at the same time, maintaining money and trying to flourish at the best of our possibilities, I think that all of those things go hand in hand with some of the other things that I want to touch on here. And I think the next topic that I want to talk about is feds changing. So if you go back in the day to around the time I started my pick fed, one of the bigger things about starting pick fedding or starting the show was I always watched, or when I discovered pick feds, I always thought to myself, where's the storyline? I think that the production could have been better. I think that, real entrances and sound effects and crowd effects and all of these different things, commentary would really add to the shows. So when I started my fed, I wanted those things to be a part of it. I wanted to make it a production, if you will. I wanted it to be as if I am watching WWE or Monday Night Raw or WrestleMania, whatever it is. I want it to seem like I am watching that exact thing. It's just figures. So I know that there are a ton of really amazing feds and fedders that have just done the classic music overlay, but I wanted my fed to be different. I wanted to do things a little bit differently, and obviously at the very beginning, the posing was terrible. There's a lot of different things about the very beginning of the fed that was so bad when you go back and watch them, in my opinion. But I think people were willing to look past it because at the time, things, of course, your vision changes, your view on things changes over time, but I think having different production things and having different things about it made it more digestible as videos and things like that. Not for everybody, of course, but I think that a majority of people could look past it because they felt like they were entertained, at least in some way, to watch it because of the different production, the entrances, whatever the case was. But I say that to say that feds over time have evolved. You see that everywhere now, and I think that even with the inclusion of video feds, and there's more production in feds than ever with commentary and sound effects and improvements to production, effects, all those different things that have happened over time since I stopped fedding also. I know that some people started to do so when I was fedding, and then over time, as I've kind of gotten out of consistently fedding, people have continued to push the limits on what the production could be and, including video and kind of evolving pick fedding as its own deal. So it's not even really pick fedding anymore. It's really involved into vid fedding and things like that. I know it's kind of a combination of the two in the modern day. And some people do a little bit more video. Some people do a little bit more classic. And you get that sort of fusion of both that comes together. So not only has fedding changed, but the figure improvements. Figures have improved as well. Ultimate Editions, Elites, Double Jointed Arms, all of the interchangeable heads, and the figures are better than ever. There's so many figures that I've really wanted to use. And I think that fedding could be the best that it's possibly ever been in the modern day because of the figures constantly getting better in production and all those things going hand in hand. So it really pains me, and I talk about this all the time too, is the pick fed is something that I think about on a daily basis, and me and my brother talk about it on almost a daily, weekly basis. I'll shoot over an idea I thought about or something like that, or he'll give me ideas, or we'll send each other things back and forth. We do this almost daily, almost weekly. This happens on a constant basis. And I've always said that there is nobody on planet Earth that has wanted to see a new episode of The Fed more than me. But I say all these things to say that over time, we've waited and things like that. Things have evolved, figures, all these different things. I don't want The Fed to come back and have a really dated feel. I don't want it to feel like kind of the old era. I want it to maintain elements of the previous style, but I want it at the same time to be fresh and exciting and have the modern flair while also having that MDT edginess to it at the same exact time. I want it to kind of merge those two worlds together. And so I say all that to say that I think one of the bigger things about the Fed being gone was a thing called analysis paralysis. And we'll bring up the definition here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure you can relate in some way if you've dealt with this on an occasion, but it says analysis paralysis is a psychological phenomenon where an individual becomes so overwhelmed or bogged down by analyzing or considering all possible options, outcomes, or details that they are unable to make a decision or take action. It says key points about analysis paralysis: overthinking. People spend excessive time weighing the pros and cons of each option, fearing making the wrong choice. Information overload. Having too much information can make it difficult to decide, as every option seems to have potential downsides. Inaction. As a result, decision-making gets delayed or completely avoided, often leading to missed opportunities. This can cause stress, frustration, anxiety. It delays progress, whether in personal decisions, projects. And then it says sometimes inaction can be worse than making a suboptimal decision. So I think that is probably something that goes hand in hand with life changes, with the evolution of figure pick fedding changing. I think all of that combined into one to sort of delay the pick fed to the most degree. Should I use this camera or this camera? Should I do this for production? Should I get this lighting? Should we set this up this way? Should we do this, do that? What if my editing software isn't compatible? What if this, what if that? And all of those things kind of combine together, and it leads to just a huge delay in this production here. So where do we go from here? Where does the future hold for the MDT Pic Fed? I know that I've always said that the Fed is not dead. I'm very passionate about it and creating it. It pains me not to be able to upload it. You know, I'm not just out here rainbows and daisies, just, oh my God, I'm so glad I don't make that Fed anymore. That's not the case. That is definitely not the case that I deal with. And there has been work behind the scenes, unknown work on the Fed for years behind the scenes that nobody knows about, right? So there are tons of projects behind the scenes that have been Fed related that have not seen any eyes. I mean, like the work that I've done, work that like commissioned customs that I've gotten, all kinds of different stuff for future projects. Those have been done. So it's not like I just paused it and walked away from it forever. It has been a constant thing over the years, over the 1,300 plus days that we have worked on little by little, incrementally, you know, over time here. And I'm just really tired of thinking and overanalyzing, waiting. I just don't want to do that anymore, man. I really want to see this thing come to fruition, and something that I've just been thinking about the last few days. And I'm not saying that the next episode is tomorrow or next week or the next month or whatever the case is, but I am saying that filming has started, and I want My Damnation to come out before GTA 6. I don't want to lose that battle. I've seen comments saying, oh my God, GTA 6 before My Damnation, etc. I've seen the memes, I've seen all those different things, and I don't want that to be the case. I want to win the race between me and GTA 6. Now, I don't know what the exact release date of GTA 6 is. May 26, 2026. What is that, less than a year away? Less than a year away, but we still have other episodes to get to, right? It's not like that's the next thing that's supposed to be out on the calendar. But I've taken certain actions here that I think are going to help me. And I would rather have the next installment done and playing around with it and getting better as we go rather than just waiting for the perfect time, if that makes sense. And I wanted to get on here and talk about it a little bit because a ton of you have been incredibly patient waiting on it and asking that question and being passionate about it. And so I appreciate all of you so very much for that. And again, you can leave me any questions or anything down in the comment section below. I don't plan on changing anything or doing a new draft or doing anything like that. I want to go back to the original. Now, I know a lot of years have passed or time has passed, but I still think it's completely fine to just pick it back up where it was. And while the style won't be completely the same, I think it will be for the betterment. And if you go back to that intro that we did, I mean, it's almost been almost a year now since we did that. You can go watch that intro, and that's probably the more style that it's going to be in there. But anyways, man, I want to get on here, touch on it a little bit, talk about it. It was something that had been on my mind a while, and I wanted to give you guys sort of a little bit of an update on it and just touch on it, and you guys can let me know all of your information down in the comment section below. And I think it's more of a thing where when it's posted, it will just be posted up. There won't be any lead up. It will legitimately just be a random... I don't think I'll just post it. It'll probably be a thing where it's premiered, and then you'll see the notification for it being a premiere, and then you can tune in live as it goes live. There is what I'm thinking, so we'll see about that. But we're working, man. We're working. But I appreciate your patience. I appreciate all of the support, and I would love to hear your chime in down in the comment section below. But in short, man, becoming a dad of 3 kids, being the best dad and husband that I can be, combined with these other things, is why the Fed has been on hiatus for so long. But I appreciate you guys so very much, man. And a huge shout out to our Patreon members, man. Thank you guys so very much for your continued support. As always, you guys are unbelievable. But I'm just so thankful for you, and I appreciate your support. But let me know your thoughts down below. I'm getting the hell out, man. Hang in there. I appreciate you. I'll see you guys next time. Have a blessed one, and I'll catch you guys later.